Welcome back to 5.3 PO, and I want to thank you for coming back to join me in this this engine rebuilding experience here. That's going to be a ton of fun. Okay, so you've probably watched my first episode where I give you the breakdown of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and you hopefully you've had a chance to watch episode number 2 that shows me unloading this the motor that I picked up from a wrecked Suburban. Remember, this motor that I'm rebuilding is going into a 2008 Chevy Suburban. And remember that motor, how nasty it was? Kind of in bad shape and all the parts and just looked nasty. Well, wait till you see what I've got now. Well, welcome back. And this episode, I know it's been a break since we last had our episode. I think we got up to episode 11. I think was or maybe 12, where it was the last part of tearing down the 5.3 liter Chevy V8, the LC9 motor. Okay, so anyway, it's been a few weeks since I've been basically recording new videos and posting them, but don't let that fool you. There's been a lot of stuff going on with this project in those few weeks since I've had gaps in my episodes. And what have I had done? Well, in the last few weeks, I've had the block cleaned and bored out. And during those weeks and during those times, I've also had the heads rebuilt. And I've basically been taking time to collect all the parts that I'm going to use. So I thought in this episode, I'll take you through all of the parts before I put it all together into a new LC9 5.3 liter all aluminum engine. So let's first, before I go any further with showing you all the parts that I've collected, and you can see all of this that you see here will turn into the completed motor. But let me first share with you what I am using to as my guide to rebuilding this engine. And right here, the How to Rebuild GM LS Series Engines. This book is actually really, really good. I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to rebuild an engine like me, who needs help and guidance and step-by-step. I mean, this is pretty thorough. The author covers what supplies you'll need, advice for tearing it down step-by-step. So between this book here, and I'll include links down below on where you can purchase this book. I think I just picked it up off of Amazon. But this book has been pretty good. It hasn't let me down yet, and I've gotten to this point. I've gotten to this point where everything's torn down. So anyway, between this book and a bunch of YouTube videos, I mean, obviously my video is not the only YouTube video out there. There's hundreds, thousands of engine rebuilding YouTube videos. I've been watching a lot of YouTube lately. So in addition to this How to Rebuild the GM LS Series, I leaned heavily on Summit Racing Equipment. They have a couple of really good guides on rebuilding these engines. And the first is this one here. This is an incredible guide. Upgrading the LH6, LC9, LH8, and LH9 engines. Mine here is the LC9. So believe it or not, they've got one for just about all of the LS motors. And it goes through and it talks about what you can do to upgrade it. And remember, I wanted to give this a little bit more power than stock. So I wanted to upgrade it, and it suggests all of the upgrades. And while the first page a lot of it got cut off, Summit Racing Equipment also has this blog on all cylinders, and they've got, basically it's the same thing as this upgrading guide, but it goes into much more detail, several pages about LC9 upgrades and advice for LC9 mods to maximize performance. Again, I'll include links to these down in the description, but let me tell you, between these two documents, it's been incredible how much I've been able to learn. Because remember, I went into this not really knowing much about anything about rebuilding engines. So, but specifically for my particular version of the LS motor. So they have one for every single version of the LS. So anyway, let's get into the parts that I've got here that I'm going to use to put this all together. So first, let's start with the block. Now, maybe I'll post a photo of before and after here in just a second. But let me tell you, this block turned out really nice. Now, this was originally, the stock bore is 3.78, okay? When I got this thing torn down and taken to the machine shop, as it turns out, this isn't the first time this engine has been rebuilt or is in the process of being rebuilt. It was actually rebuilt once before. So it was already bored to 3.8. But there was some rust and some nicks and scratches in there. So I had my friends at Rouse Machine Shop in Wilson, North Carolina. Super highly recommend. Great guys. I can't say enough good stuff about Mike, who basically runs the machine shop there, and all his staff and folks who work there. Super nice guy, great advice, very affordable prices, just top-notch work. I highly recommend them, and I will be taking every single engine that I plan on rebuilding is going to go to Rouse's machine shop in Wilson, North Carolina to have this work done. So anyway, he bored another 10 over what was already bored out. So now I've got 30 over bore, so it's a 3.81 is the diameter of these bores. And you can see clearly this block cleaned up really nice. And Mike did a fantastic job again. Rouse Machine Shop, it's a performance specialty machine shop, but they do everything with motors and blocks, all kinds, all different engines. So if you're in Eastern North Carolina or even Central North Carolina, it's worth the drive to Wilson, North Carolina to go to his machine shop. All right, so what am I going to put in this? Well, first of all, using the Summit guides, you know, I have a real liking for Summit racing equipment, and I think their parts are good quality. They have good advice, good staff, and quite frankly, anytime I've had a question about any of their parts, I post a question, and right away I get an answer from a Summit staff member to give me some advice. So I lean heavily towards almost everything I used coming from Summit. So starting with the lower half of the engine, what do I got here? And you can bring the camera over here. I've got a forged crank, and I'm putting in a stroker crank. This is going to be a stroker modification with a 4-inch stroke versus the stock 3.6 something. I forget off the top of my head, but by the time I'm done, it's going to have a 4-inch stroke. So this is a 4-inch stroke crank, and let me tell you, this is forged. I bought this as part of a kit where the crank came, not only the crank, but also included in the kit were these forged steel connecting rods, Summit Pro LS. Very, very, very nice, nice hardware here. And then I went with the Summit Pro LS pistons. So again, bored to 3.81. So very, very nice. Gosh, I wish I had one of the old ones here to show you. But so very, very nice stuff. High quality. You know, can't wait to put all this together. And actually, there are some really nice guides on. If you haven't been to Summit's website, you got to go there and check out all the videos they have. Check out their YouTube page. They show you how to put all the rings on and spacers. They basically tell you how to do all this stuff. So, you know, I've got the book, I've got the guides, I've got the Summit web page, I've got the Summit YouTube page. You know, how can we go wrong here? So, so the kit came with the crank, forged steel. We've got the rods, the pistons, and gosh, what else did the kit come with? I think there was maybe one other thing it came with. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But this is all going to come together. And actually, as it turns out, Mike at Rouse Machine Shop, he balanced all of this for me. So it's important, obviously, to have all this balanced. I was amazed at how these pistons were they were identical. Every single one weighed the exact. Now, maybe it was just luck. I don't know. But every piston everything weighed exactly the same. Talk about good manufacturing process. Who knows? Maybe I was just lucky. Now, Mike did have to do a little bit of balancing on the crank, and he gave me the numbers that he got it balanced to less than a gram on each end. So I am really excited. Thank you, Mike, if you're watching, for doing such a spectacular job. So anyway, I've got, this is basically the lower half of the engine. As you recall, I mentioned early on that I'm replacing everything. There's only a handful of parts that I'm reusing. So I've got everything here from a brand new harmonic balancer here. I've got, this is the sprocket for the crankshaft, goes on the end of the crankshaft for the timing. I've got upgraded trunnion for the, whatchamacallits there, the rocker arms. And that is actually one of the few things that I'm going to be reusing. If you want to bring the camera over here, I am gonna reuse the original rockers. So I'm gonna clean those up, get them all cleaned up nice with mineral spirits. You're seeing down here, I'm not sure if I'm gonna reuse that oil pan. Probably not. It's a mess. I'll see how much I could clean that up. But I might just, heck, I've gotten all this much new. I might as well just go ahead and get a new oil pan, right? So anyway, I may reuse the oil deflector and the rear cover. But other than that, the only other thing I'm going to reuse, of course, are the heads. And once again, Mike took great care of me and reconditioned these heads. I did purchase upgraded springs. So the lift is 0.55, so it's an upgraded LS. I think these are LS6 springs. And gosh, look at the nice job he did on this. Just unbelievable. Reconditioned these heads and they are just spectacular. Did a real super nice job. So what else? Let's see here. I've got my bearings, King Racing for the main bearings. I've got these Cleveite bearings for the connecting rods. For timing, I've purchased a brand new upgraded timing chain. And the one thing I did, obviously, as it would be no surprise, obviously I'm doing a new camshaft. And this is a performance camshaft also from Summit. This camshaft is a stage 1 cam. And I'll put down in the specs below, or I'll put down in the direct description below all the specs. But I'm looking for some really good improved horsepower with this performance cam. Now, because this is performance cam, bolts on with 3 bolts, I had to upgrade or modify the timing gear. So the stock is a 1-bolt timing gear. So I changed that to a 3-bolt to accommodate this performance camshaft. So obviously it came with the bolts and everything to put that together. And by the way, I will point out, my year of the LC9 motor had the displacement on the demand, the AFM, this particular block that I got was a 2010 block, which had the variable valve timing. I'm deleting both of those. So what I've got down here, this box is just the head bolts, bolts for the head. But what I've got down here is the cover for the displacement on demand delete as part of the delete kit. So remember the cover, the original cover, what that looked like? If you want to follow me over here, I'll show you what the original looked like. Of course, the original had all this, all these parts and solenoids and everything to turn off the lifters at the various time. So we're simplifying it. We're going to a very simple valley cover, and I've got that for the AFM delete. I've got a new front cover, which is made for the variable valve timing delete. So anyway, there's my new cover, front cover, and connected to that, obviously, you know, I'll have the cam in there, and then the timing gear. Let's see, moving up to the upper half of the engine, I already mentioned the heads, but I'm upgrading the lifters. So I've got these from Summit, this lifter set, which again deletes or gets rid of the displacement on demand. These are, gosh, I think those are LS7 lifters. So they're going to give me a little bit more performance, a little bit more lift, a little bit more pressure to keep those, to open up those valves a little bit more. And again, I already mentioned I've upgraded these springs so that can accommodate the more powerful lifters and the opening of the valves a little bit more. Why stop there? Let's might as well upgrade the push rods. So I got from Trick Flow these push rods, also from Summit, and so basically this whole thing's gonna be redone. I've got down here a new power steering pump, and a friend of mine from work, Terry. Thank you so much, Terry. Helped clean these brackets up for me. They were a mess, and Terry used his glass bead blaster to clean this. And this is the bracket for the air conditioning compressor, and same thing. This was a mess, but look how nice Terry got this all cleaned up with his glass bead blaster. So beyond that, let's see, we got a plug kit here. We've got hoses for the power steering pump. And in this bag is every single sensor that goes on the engine. Everything. Everything from crank position sensors to, gosh, what do we got here? We've got, well, whatever this one is. But every single electronic connector, knock sensors, the temperature sensor. This is one of the, this is the crank position sensor. Every single sensor on the engine is being replaced. Bolts, all the bolts, new bolts. Basically everything pretty much is brand new except for the few things, except for the rockers, these covers, and obviously the heads, which I had redone. Now, let's see. Obviously, before I go into putting all this together, I'm going to clean it up. So I've got a series of rags and brushes and the mineral spirits here for all of the cleaning. Now, my next video is probably going to be a lot of cleaning. Okay, so you'll get to be alongside me as I clean these parts. And according to my handy book here, it talks about the importance of pre-assembly to make sure everything fits together before everything's bolted down tight. So there's a whole chapter dedicated to cleaning all these parts you see here, even the brand new things. Everything needs cleaned with mineral spirits, and all of the oil guides and water ports and everything where there's a hole needs to be cleaned out with these brushes that can get down into those holes. But basically, we're going to do the pre-assembly, make sure everything's in good shape. And to that end, I have the plastic gauge, which is obviously a must-do for engine rebuilding. And then finally, once we get to the final assembly, then I've got all brand new gaskets for everything, the obvious stuff. And then I've got the water wetter, I've got the assembly lube here, Clevite assembly lube. I think I pretty much have it covered. Oh, I don't want to forget. I don't want to leave off some important parts here. Let's see, what do I got here? I've got, this is the oil pump, a brand new oil. I haven't even gotten it out of the box yet, but a brand new oil pump. It's a high volume oil pump. I've got engine motor mounts because, my Suburban, the motor mounts are shot. So obviously we'd want to have the motor mounts. And in that box is a water pump. A General Motors performance parts water pump. So that obviously is stock, as well as the motor mounts are stock. So anyway, as you can see, a lot of stuff here. And all this is going to come together here over the course of the next couple weeks, hopefully. And you'll be along with me to watch it all come together. And my next video, maybe I'll do a quick little overview of the vehicle it's going to go in so you have an idea. Believe it or not, I just within the last week or two developed a stuck lifter in the vehicle that this all is going into. So, the timing couldn't have been any better to have this all done. So with that, let's see. Well, there's a few other things I need to get. I think I'm going to replace the flex plate, obviously, which I'm going to get a neutrally balanced because this has all been balanced properly. So flex plate, I'm going to replace the probably the torque converter, and then a few other odds and ends. I am going to reuse the stock throttle body and intake manifold. So those are going to be reused as well. I am going to add a cold air intake, and I'm probably, depending on if I'm within budget, if I have any extra budget left over, we'll see what we do about the exhaust. I'd love to get a nice aftermarket exhaust. So anyway, with that, I got a lot of work ahead of myself here. A lot of parts that all need to come together. So yeah, let me know what you think. I'll leave links to the book, to the guides, to the performance specs in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Would you have done anything a little differently? Would you have gotten the same parts? You know, the cam, I know there's a lot of debate about the cam. I didn't want to go crazy. I don't want to wake up the neighbors with a loud... That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some extra torque with a little performance, you know, in a good sounding exhaust, but nothing that's going to wake people up. So I got a stage one and kept it kind of, didn't want to go too over the top. So anyway, with that, I'll bid you a farewell for now. And the next episode, we're going to start cleaning this stuff and putting it together. Thanks so much for watching.